Can you hear it? I can hear it. That clock is just ticking away. Tick, 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 tick. And it's after 11 o'clock, and you know what that means. It means it's time for your favorite show and mine, Countdown to Armageddon. And I'm your host, Publius, here to bring you the latest and greatest and just basically whatever crosses my mind. And today I want to talk to you a little bit about the situation in Israel. First off, there's just no way around it. BLM has come out and endorsed and said they stand with the Palestinians. Okay, let's go a little further. The squad is basically calling Israel a bunch of terrorists for attacking women and children. Sounds pretty bad. Now let's go ahead and open up an article that just came out. What we see here is look at this headline. Dems are not okay with sanctioning a terrorist organization. Now, I'm not going to go through the article, but basically what it says is the Democrats refuse to call out and condemn Hamas. Matter of fact, you actually had a competing motion in Congress to condemn Israel and not even grant them the right to defend themselves. So let's look at what's happening, or what happened. And yes, some of this is my opinion, some of it is fact. My opinion: Joe Biden gave the Palestinians a buttload of money. They turned around and bought rockets with it. They fired these rockets into Israel. Large amount of rockets and missiles were shot at Israel with the intent to destroy and kill Israeli citizens. Innocent people just living their lives. Now Hamas, which is the organization in Palestine that did all this, set their rocket launchers up where they were surrounded by civilians, so that when Israel responded back, that it would kill innocent women and children. So, enter the squad. They're killing women and children. How dare they? Well, if you're hiding behind them and using them as shields, of course they're going to die. Now, recently, Israel has pointed out that even the Palestinian Watcher, the people that watch Palestine for the United Nations, stated that no, Israel was not targeting women and children. They were targeting facilities where Hamas had assets. Did Hamas have shields? Yes. Were they human shields? Yes. Is this something new? No. But does it still work on idiots like the squad? Every time. See, according to them, if somebody's shooting you, but they put a little kid in front of you, you shouldn't shoot back. You should just take the damage, because that's the right thing to do. That they're shooting missiles at innocent women and children, that's irrelevant. And I think it's telling that, number one, the Democratic Party couldn't even say that Israel has the right to defend themselves. Every country on this earth is assumed to have the right to defend themselves, but not Israel. No, Israel's evil. Israel's like Trump. The orange dude bad. Israel bad. They just defend themselves, but that's okay, because that still makes them bad. They should just roll over and let the Palestinians beat the crap out of them. You know, Israel has been holding these territories. They conquered them during the war 50 years ago. Everybody wants them to give it back. But something to keep in mind, most territories have changed due to war. These territories were involved in an active war against Israel back then. They lost, and Israel conquered them. They annexed the territory for their own safety. So Why would they have to give it back? Oh, because it's only fair. Otherwise, there's a lot of whining and posturing. The reality is, no country in the world would give it back. But Israel's actually entertained the idea and has negotiated towards that end. Does Hamas? Is Hamas prepared to negotiate? No, because deep inside, Hamas says Israel should not exist at all. They want to go back to the mindset that launched that war in 1967. They want to drive Israel off the face of the earth. And if they can get away with it, that's what they're going to do. The problem is, Palestinians know they'd have to face the IDF. And they would lose. They've lost before. Not once, but several times. So what do? Well, they try to backdoor it. They try to get people like you and me to sit there and say, see how evil Israel is? They're killing innocent women and children. Are you really killing innocent women? Oh, yeah, you are. You're killing them, but it isn't your fault. Israel is not at fault in this. They didn't start this shit. Palestine did it. Hamas did. Hamas launched rockets at them, launched missiles at them. And only somebody who is either an idiot or who is so biased is going to sit back and say Israel's at fault. Because Israel didn't launch missiles into Palestine to start with. Palestine did it first. Israel responded. Israel retaliated. Israel has the right to retaliate. If in their retaliation, innocent civilians are killed because they're being used as shields, well, the person to blame for this is the people at Hamas that put them there. I mean, you know they're going to come at you. Anybody who actually gave a damn about their own people would make sure you put your rockets somewhere Israel can't kill innocent people. But no, not Hamas. They're going to put it right in the middle of a school if they could get away with it. Because they want Israel to kill civilians. They want a human body count. So they can go on national television and the world television and tell everybody, see how evil they are? They killed these little kids who were doing nothing wrong. And you're right, they were doing nothing wrong. Except standing there as a shield to protect the cowardly chicken members of Hamas. That brings us back to our morons. You have the squad who's calling them worse than Hitler, calling them apartheid in the Middle East, calling them terrorists because they defend themselves. We have our own terrorist organization, BLM, saying we stand with them because we know what it's like to be oppressed. And we also know what it's like to launch missiles at people. Oh, no, they don't do that. That's right. They throw Molotov cocktails. Similar, but just not as destructive. Is that what we can predict coming from BLM in the future? Launching some missiles at the people they oppose? I definitely don't put it past BLM to make sure that their sites are protected by having human shields. Because, after all, they want to be able to sit back and go, oh, you're so evil, you killed all these people. Folks, this is a bunch of bullshit propaganda. If you want peace in the Middle East, we were heading towards it. Why? Trump was getting more and more people to sign treaties with Israel. And then we got Biden back. And what's the first thing Biden does? He gives Palestine money regardless of how it's used. He's taken away the requirement that they have to prove they're not going to use their money for war. They're not going to buy weapons with it. Oh, not going to look at that no more. We're just going to give you the money because, you guys are downtrodden. You need help. You wouldn't buy rockets with it. Duh. No. Why would we do that? So we could kill the evil Satan, the little Satan. And they did. They went out and they bought their rockets. No, I don't know for a fact that they used U.S. money. But it's kind of interesting how for 4 years, Palestine really didn't go after Israel. They were kind of afraid to. Part of that is because they knew Trump stood 100% behind Israel. And so all of a sudden the Middle East is starting to negotiate. We can be friends. We can work this out. When we know that we're not going to be able to guilt trip you all into giving us what we want, well, okay, we'll negotiate. Biden gets in, all that's out the window. Why? Because we all know Biden's a wuss. Not only is he a wuss, he's not a friend of Israel. Look how long it took for him to even talk to Bibi. Didn't call him for a long time. When he did finally call him, which was during this, when everybody was attacking Israel, what does he tell him? I want to see some work on some de-escalation. We need to stop this. You guys need to do a ceasefire. You know, if I had been Bibi, I'd have said, that's good, I agree. Turn around and make those assholes over there stop shooting rockets at us. The minute they do, we'll stop responding. But no, that's not how it happened. Matter of fact, what's even more funny? Who actually negotiated the ceasefire? Not Biden. Not the United States. Egypt. Egypt came in and said, look, I don't want this blowing up in our face again. You guys need to chill. Hamas, stop shooting rockets at them. If you stop, they'll stop. Life is easy. So, Egypt gets them to both sides to agree to a ceasefire. Biden goes on national television and brags about how he was able to get this done. Dude, you ain't done shit other than pat yourself on the back. You didn't have enough balls to condemn the members of your party that don't even want to grant Israel the right to defend themselves. You didn't have the balls to condemn those members of your party who support Hamas, an internationally recognized terrorist group. And that's what they did. The Squad came out in support of Hamas. BLM came out in support of Hamas. The U.S. Congress and the House of Representatives, they came out, and they couldn't get enough. There were people willing to condemn Hamas. Why? Because the Democrats just don't do that. No. They're just misunderstood. This is all bullshit. Why? Because the reality is the Democrats honestly believe Hamas likes them. Because they'll give them presents. Hamas gets all these wonderful gifts of money from morons like the Squad that they then use to bomb Israel. So that they can go back on the world stage and tell everybody, see how Israel is? They're so mean. They blew up my church. Though we were not going to talk about the missile launcher that was in it that didn't exist. We control the media. We won't let you show pictures of that. And idiots like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the rest of her cohorts in the Squad just lap this crap up. Now, I have mixed opinions on the Squad. I think AOC is just an idiot. But Ilian, she's a terrorist supporter, bottom line. She fled from a country because of persecution, came back and supports the persecutors. Rashid Tlaib, another one. She is pure and simply a terrorist. She might as well get a paycheck from Hamas for being their public relations spokesperson. The other members of the Squads, they're just idiots. They buy the press release. They believe their own bullshit. And the members of Congress that followed along with them, they're idiots too. I think their answers would be a whole lot different if they were the ones that had to live for several days in a bomb shelter because of the possibility of having your building blown up on you because of these peaceful idiots over there. You know, Hamas is peaceful like the protests were. Palestine, and I mean, sadly, you could have got better people to support them. I mean, we know what BLM really is all about. BLM and Antifa protested basically all of 2020. And during those protests, 38 people died, billions of dollars worth of damage from mostly peaceful protests. And most Palestinians are peaceful, but the rest are just shooting missiles. And just like our BLM, they don't want anything. No, you can't attack us. We were just being peaceful. Most of us didn't do a thing to you. Oh, those missiles? Those don't count. You can't attack them because they're hiding behind a bunch of civilians that they put up there just to keep safe. You know, maybe the U.S. needs to pay a little more attention to what's going on over there so we can learn how to deal with over here. Your protest turns into a riot, every one of you should be locked up. You refuse to put down your Molotov cocktails, shoot them. A Molotov cocktail is a weapon. If you won't put your weapon down, die. They want to have human shields, then we will send flowers to their graves too. Because the bottom line is, as long as you tolerate this actions, they're going to keep going. Hamas didn't pay at all in this. They made their fellow Palestinians pay the price so they could continue blowing shit up. Just like the BLM. So, as you're sitting there watching the stories that are unfolding, number one, most of them are the poor me. See how evil Israel is? They won't just sit there and suck down missiles for us. Okay, folks, that's been this episode of Countdown to Armageddon. I am Publius. I hope you've enjoyed today's show. If you did, please hit the like button. If you didn't like today's show, hit the like button. Bottom line, hit the like button. Share this. If you liked it, share it with your friends. Share it with your family. Share it with the neighbors down the street. If you didn't like this, okay, don't share it with your friends. Share it with your enemies. They'll like it because unlike you, they'll get a kick out of it. Bottom line, share it. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. If you're going to be sitting there listening to me, at least hit the subscribe button. Let's come on, folks. You know how this works. And don't forget to hit the notification bell. That way you know when I post the next episodes. Episodes vary throughout the week. So give it a shot. Finally, if you'd like to support this channel in any way, you may do so by following the instructions that are given underneath the episode description, or you can do so through this channel. Bottom line, folks, don't believe the hype. Stop letting people hide behind human shields and getting away with it. That's what stops it. If you put enough bullets in people, they're going to stop hiding behind people. They're going to start realizing, well, that don't work. And on that note, thank you all for joining me. You guys have a wonderful night, and I'll talk to you next time here on your Countdown to Armageddon.